This time we did a major redevelopment. As a result, I'll introduce a city that ended up with a massive deficit of 32.6 billion yen. That is Kobe Shin-Nagata. Besides the huge deficit, tenants face other problems. That's why the stores are empty, and you can't even pretend the place is bustling. That's the town's current state. Why has Shin-Nagata ended up like this? In this video, I'll introduce the reasons behind the redevelopment of Kobe Shin-Nagata, its problems, and what the future holds. On this channel, I'll keep making lots of videos for everyone to enjoy, so please make sure to subscribe. So, I took the Japan Railways Kobe line from Osaka Station and arrived at Japan Railways Nagata Station. Here's where Kobe-da is located. Nagata Station is served by both Japan Railways and the Kobe Municipal Subway. It is the largest entertainment district in Hyogo Prefecture. It's less than 10 minutes from Sanomiya, and it takes about 40 minutes from Osaka Station. It's located in this area. As for the subway, all trains are local, so let's set that aside. For Japan Railways as well, express trains don't stop here. Only local trains make stops at this station. However, this is the station building. It's so big, you'd never guess only local trains stop here. Only local trains stop at my hometown station, and its building is just 1/100th the size of this one. It's much smaller, so I was surprised to see it. Now, since the large-scale redevelopment took place on the south side of the station, I'm also visiting the south side. There's a large plaza in front of the station, which makes me wonder even more, why only local trains stop here? This is just my guess. However, in this section, even rapid trains stop at 4 stations in a row: Sanomiya Station, Motomachi Station, Kobe Station, and Hyogo Station. If they also stopped at the next station, Shin-Nagata, that would make it 5 consecutive stops. I think that's the reason behind it. Behind the large plaza are tower apartments and commercial facilities. It's such a great place to live that I can't help but envy those in Shin-Nagata, because it's so beautifully maintained. Just visiting here, you wouldn't think it's a place with a history of a 32.6 billion yen deficit from redevelopment. A short walk from here, there are 2 large shopping streets: Shin-Nagata Ichibangai Shopping Street and Taisho Suji Shopping Street. Those 2 shopping streets and their surrounding areas are basically the center of the redevelopment. So let's walk over there. First, right in front of the plaza is a high-rise building called Bifure. It's a facility that combines commercial spaces and apartments. In the south side redevelopment of Shin-Nagata, there are many places like this where commercial facilities and apartments are developed together. Although Bifure is in a prime location in front of the station, it appears to struggle with attracting customers, and many second-floor tenants were vacant. It's a bit concerning, but as you cross the crosswalk, you'll see Tokyu Plaza. This building is part of an apartment complex. Originally, Daimaru Department Store was located in the commercial space, but after it closed, it became Tokyu Plaza. It opened in 1977, giving it nearly 50 years of history. Just to let you know in advance, the redevelopment we're talking about this time happened much later. Since this Tokyu Plaza has long supported the people living in Shin-Nagata, I won't go into detail about it in this video. While I talked about that, I reached the shopping street. Ahead, I first saw the Shin-Nagata Ichibangai Shopping Street. On the map, Shin-Nagata Ichibangai Shopping Street is near the station, while Taisho Suji Shopping Street is farther in, across the highway and National Road. When I turned to the right, there it was, a huge monument of Tetsujin 28-go. Wow, it's just too big. When I looked it up, it seems that the original creator of Tetsujin 28-go has a connection to Shin Shin-Nagata. Because of that connection, in 2009, as part of the redevelopment project in Shin-Nagata, this statue was installed here to help revitalize the area. Now let's walk through Shin-Nagata Ichibangai Shopping Street and Taisho-Suji Shopping Street, and I'll tell you about how the south side of Shin-Nagata Station was redeveloped. There used to be many long-established shopping streets on the south side of Shin-Nagata Station. The one that stood out is the one we're walking through now, Shin-Nagata Ichibangai Shopping Street, and on the other side, Taisho-Suji Shopping Street. The large-scale redevelopment began here, and since this is Kobe, perceptive people may have already noticed. It was because of the massive damage caused by the great Hanshin-Awaji earthquake in 1995. In Nagata Ward, Kobe City, where Shin-Nagata is, over 15,000 buildings were destroyed and about 5,000 were burned down by fires. This area of Kobe City suffered especially severe damage compared to others. Shin-Nagata Ichibangai and Taisho-Suji shopping streets suffered massive fires, nearly destroying the once busy areas. And just 2 months after the earthquake, Kobe City put together a redevelopment plan for about 20 hectares on the south side of Shin-Nagata Station, and redevelopment began to proceed at a rapid pace. The details of this redevelopment plan pertain to the redevelopment area. Kobe City would first acquire the 20 hectares of land and buildings, then construct a total of 44 commercial buildings, high-rise buildings, and high-rise condominiums, with the aim of revitalizing Shin-Nagata as a subcenter of Kobe. After Kobe City develops the area, companies and original residents will move in. They would sell the buildings to people at a set price and then resell them again. From Kobe City's perspective, they could quickly develop a vast area of 20 hectares and beautify the city, and the proceeds from selling the buildings could be used to cover the redevelopment costs. The redevelopment of Shin-Nagata will finally be completed about 30 years after the earthquake, with the 44th building constructed as planned in June 2024. If you look at it on Google Earth, you can see that there are many high-rise buildings built around the shopping street. Among the buildings, there are also public facilities like the Shin-Nagata Joint Government Building. Somehow, I felt a sense of déjà vu about this redevelopment, and it turns out that the same method was used in the redevelopment project of Abe in Osaka, which I covered in a previous video. Osaka City handles all redevelopment at once, then sells the buildings and recoups costs through the station. That's how it was. I've put the video link in the description, so if you're interested, please check it out. By the way, here's what it looked like before the redevelopment. Most buildings appeared to have a shop on the first floor and living space above, serving as both residences and businesses. There were many people like that. It was a bustling shopping street, mainly filled with local residents. However, due to large-scale redevelopment, as you can see, it has transformed into the clean and modern shopping street it is today. Before the earthquake, the shopping street was made up of only the first floor, so to speak. It was all on one level. But now, with the addition of a basement and up to the third floor, the scale has expanded and the shopping street has been reborn. Opening a store again in the shopping street after redevelopment. In that case, you would purchase a section somewhere in the newly developed commercial space. And since it was no longer a combination of residence and store like before, I had to move to another place, such as a newly built condominium from the redevelopment project. The shopping street is divided into large sections, with Asta Plaza East and Asta Plaza West in Shin-Nagata Ichiban Shopping Street, and from Asta Kunizuka Building number 1 to number 6 in Taisho-Suji Shopping Street. These names have been given to them. That's all for Shin-Nagata, Ichiban, and Taisho Tsuji shopping streets. Although the explanation focused on these areas, it was about the redevelopment. From Astakunizuka Ichibangai to Rokubengai, a pedestrian bridge lets you go back and forth on the second floor. Now, after walking this far, I noticed that the parts facing the main street definitely have fewer people as you get farther from the station, and you also start to see more signs for tenant recruitment. But on the second floor, there are even fewer tenants, so let's take a look. I've come to the second floor of Astakunizuka 5th Avenue, and there are almost no people here at all. But the hallways and roof are solidly built, and it's quite an impressive building. From a user's perspective, it's easy to walk around and really wonderful. And 4th Avenue, which is diagonally across from 5th Avenue, has also turned into a shuttered street. Next, I'll cross the pedestrian bridge as it is and head to 3rd Avenue. Here too, the shutters are firmly closed in the back. Kei's Denki, a major electronics retailer, is open. It seems to be operating on 2 floors, the 1st and 2nd floors. Though it doesn't seem sized for the number of people, there's an impressive atrium with escalators. From the 2nd floor, you can see down to the basement. This is the 1st floor, and like the 2nd, the shutters stand out. Lopia in the basement was drawing many people. Until 2021, there was a Daiei Gourmet City Shin-Nagata store at this location. But after it closed, Lopia opened here. That's the background. Something went bankrupt and went to court. Places like Osaka Bay Tower in Minara, the former department store in Nara, posted a deficit of 32.6 billion yen. Lopia often opens in unusual places like Shin-Nagata and others. When I went to the main building ahead, there was another supermarket and an atrium. There's even a see-through elevator. It's wonderful. Apparently, the stores that stay open are those on the main street and places like Kei's Denki. Most of the stores are large and not facing the main street. I thought stores inside commercial spaces seemed to be struggling. Although the Shin-Nagata joint government building was built, the town's bustle hasn't returned. It seems that the purpose of relocating some institutions to Shin-Nagata was to somehow bring people there, but it wasn't able to produce any significant effect. Next, I'll discuss the issues with Shin-Nagata's redevelopment. The redevelopment involved the city buying up buildings and land damaged by the earthquake, improving them, and then selling them back to the people who had run shops there before the disaster. This was the method that was used. In the 20-hectare redevelopment area, commercial spaces like Asta Plaza and Asta Kunizuka were built, totaling 17 times the size of Koshin Stadium, but it seems that 60% of them have not been sold. However, I should add that this information is from about 23 years ago, so things may have changed a bit. In December 2020, Kobe City announced that the redevelopment of Shin-Nagata had resulted in a huge deficit of 32.6 billion yen. It seems that only about half of the original residents returned to Shin-Nagata after the earthquake. One possible reason is that in its rush to rebuild, Kobe City did not sufficiently listen to or explain things to the original residents, which may have led to a sense of distrust. Also, the current area around Shin-Nagata Station is basically based on the redevelopment plan after the great Hanshin-Awaji earthquake, but there had already been plans to redevelop this area even before the earthquake. According to experts, under the name of reconstruction, the redevelopment was pushed through and perhaps large-scale redevelopment that normally couldn't be done was carried out. Such opinions have also emerged. Despite building 44 high-rises, the commercial spaces remain closed. Given the deserted situation, I don't think it's strange at all for such opinions to arise. Since it was developed as a sub-center of the city, it's something that can't be helped. But considering the size of the area, I can't help but feel that the redevelopment plan was a bit too grand. Originally, the city of Kobe planned to develop all 44 buildings. However, due to the large amount of debt the city took on, Kobe actually built only 25 buildings. The remaining 19 buildings were left to the private sector. There are also problems that troubled the people who returned to Shin-Nagata and are still troubling them today. First, at the beginning, operating stores as rentals was not allowed. In recent years, seeing that many commercial spaces are shuttered, operating stores as rentals has been allowed. However, at first, the only option was to purchase the commercial space. As I mentioned, many combined store residence units existed before the earthquake, but after redevelopment, stores and residences were separated. Since it was necessary to purchase each separately, it seems that many people returned to Shin-Nagata with a large amount of debt. And what continues to trouble them even now are the high maintenance costs. Even on television programs, the redevelopment of Shin-Nagata is often featured as the biggest issue. I also went to see it with my own eyes, and I found that the common areas like the corridors are quite spacious and luxurious. There are also pedestrian bridges connecting Building 1 to Building 6, and many escalators and elevators have been installed. While it's convenient, I felt that the facilities were excessive and didn't match the number of users. In a past special feature by American Broadcasting Company Television, an expert pointed out that since common areas make up 60% of the total space, and stores only 40%, there are fewer areas generating revenue, which makes it difficult to run the stores. He pointed out that this puts a heavier burden on people. Real estate values keep dropping, while management fees rise faster than in other facilities. They say the fees keep rising, and now we can't really say anything about it. Because of that, even if you try to sell your lot, you can't find a buyer, and since you can't find a buyer, you have to keep paying the fees forever. So we're trying to find a way to at least cover some of the costs. There are also sad cases where, even though they're running at a loss, they can't close their shop. Because of these circumstances, some people say that the redevelopment of Shin-Nagata is actually a disaster caused by the reconstruction itself. There are some very harsh opinions. However, of course, it's not all bad. It's true that there are some negative aspects when it comes to business, but the living environment has greatly improved. The number of houses is twice what it was before the earthquake, and the nighttime population has increased 14-fold. It's true that it's become an easy place to live since it's close to downtown areas like Sannomiya, making commuting convenient, and there are plenty of commercial facilities, so basically, there's nothing lacking for daily life. Also, if the city hadn't taken the lead in redevelopment after the earthquake, recovery could have taken much longer, and damaged buildings might have been left abandoned for a long time. Some Ijinkan foreign residences in northern Kobe remain abandoned after being damaged by the earthquake. Also, I think it's still too early to conclude that this redevelopment has failed. The redevelopment of Abe in Osaka, which I mentioned in the video as using the same method, the project ended up with a 200 billion yen deficit. However, we were able to pay off the deficit ahead of the original schedule. And thanks to the redevelopment, the area became a beautiful city that transformed into a place where many people, especially young people, come to visit. Because of examples like that, at least, I wouldn't say it's a failure yet. Well, the scale and location of the city are different, and it's also true that there aren't any topics saying that the redevelopment in Shin-Ada was a success. It's also a place that has received quite a lot of requests in the past, and I was curious myself, so I visited Shin-Ada, but I thought it was a very beautiful and personally nice town. Based on several articles, it appears the downtown's pre-earthquake charm is gone. There were also opinions that it had become a ghost town, but personally, I didn't think it was that bad. There was still a warm atmosphere in the town, and there were also many attractive shops. If anything, I returned with a fondness for Shin-Nagata. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. Well then, see you in the next video.